Hello everyone, and welcome to Side Quests, a short deep dive into why we love certain video games. I'm Geoff Moonen. I'm one of the co-creators of Fun and Games podcast on the Certain POV network. And today I wanted to talk to you about Guacamelee 2. I just recently finished playing Guacamelee 2 as part of the 1-2 Punch collection on the PS4. While sheltering at home, my wife and I have been having a lot of fun going into our backlog and playing anything that has couch co-op to it, and Guacamelee fit the bill. And we played through both of them, but I wanted to talk in particular about the second one, because I feel it's not only a fantastic game, but a fantastic sequel as well. The Guacamelee series is a Metroidvania series. Metroidvanias are games where you are barred from exploring certain aspects of a large connected world because you don't have a certain item or you don't have certain abilities. And as you explore and beat bosses and complete challenges, you unlock new aspects which allow you to reach new areas. And eventually, you can explore everywhere. And there's great satisfaction in being able to go to a beginning area that gave you trouble and just clean house. Guacamelee's sort of hat, I suppose, is beat-em-up mechanics in a world like a Metroidvania world. There's also a great deal of humor to it, both rooted in Mexican culture, and which was drawn from, I believe, the art director at DrinkBox Studios, the studio behind the Guacamelee series, and also humor about, well, video games and meme culture as well. It has a great sense of humor about itself. I would call it a very Zucker Brothers style, like the movie Airplane. They never stick to any one joke too much. They don't lean on it or harp on it too often. They come quickly and they don't linger. So even if there's a certain running joke that you don't love, they happen so quickly. And if it's something you enjoy, it's great when it keeps coming back. On that same token, there is a great deal of love and homage for video games themselves within the titles. There are Chozo statues, much like the bird statues from the Metroid series, that unlock your abilities, but they've got a little bit of a fun twist on this one. There are references to other video game series in luchador posters on the walls, or there's a great Triforce reference that you really ought to see coming, but when it happens, just makes me so happy. It even has a little bit of humor about our instincts as gamers and how they differ from our instincts as social human beings. Guacamelee has never been shy about its love of Street Fighter, but there's a particular Street Fighter homage sequence that happens in the second game that, yeah, it really makes you think about the kindness of choices you make when you're in the thought process of a video game protagonist. The controls of Guacamelee are, like I said, sort of a beat-em-up mechanic. I would most closely liken it to Super Smash Bros., where there's only a few buttons involved, and it's very much about the directions in which you do things. You are a magical luchador character, Juan, and as a magical luchador, you have magical wrestling moves, and you can throw in all kinds of crazy directions, and depending upon how you do that, you can throw enemies into other enemies, you can suplex them, smash them into the ground. And the abilities that you unlock, you don't get new weapons per se, which several other Metroidvanias might do, or an upgrade to your weapons or armor. What you get are new moves. And these moves are not only useful in combat, but they are also how you explore. Whether it's an uppercut, a headbutt, a drop, or a dash punch. And each one of those has a corresponding color. And the color is barriers that are throughout the world that you need to use that particular move in order to open it. So if there's a red barrier somewhere, you have to use the uppercut to take it out. If you're above it, well, you can't open it up and you have to find out how to get around. But it also functions as a pseudo double jump. You can only use a move once before you land again, so you can jump and you can't uppercut endlessly. But you can, once you have all of the moves, you can uppercut, dash, headbutt, and drop, all before hitting the ground and getting to do it again. And utilizing them in the correct order is key in overcoming certain navigational challenges. And there are two main kinds of challenge in the game. combat and exploration. And the fact that they sometimes utilize the fighting mechanics so well in allowing you to traverse some of the harder puzzle sections is very satisfying. This can be a very challenging game. They put in some of the more hidden areas, honestly, some very punishing platforming challenges. I would liken it to a Super Meat Boy kind of thing, or some of the more difficult fan titles that people put out, your Kaizo Marios, for instance. Not to that level of sheer frustration, but because they keep the challenges short. You see most of them in their entirety as soon as you enter the room, but figuring out exactly how to do it and executing it are two pieces of the puzzle, and you can throw yourself against it endlessly, and they're very forgiving in this. They usually put a checkpoint right at the start. If you die, you pop right back up. You don't have to go very far. And one of the advantages of playing it co-op with my wife, with Sarah, was if one of us takes the challenge and dies, we just instantly respawn by the other person. So we were able to take it on a little faster, which being able to do couch co-op in what is designed as a single-player game and have just a couple little concessions or a couple little aids in not making it an overly frustrating process was very appreciated. It's the reason why we immediately started the second game after we beat the first one. And as soon as we began playing it, there were several aspects of design, of combat, of dodging that we had just gotten used to being a little frustrating in the first game, and we just figured that was the system and we made it work. But as soon as we started the second game, and suddenly it was as if, well, in between making the games, DrinkBox Studios had taken on legitimate criticisms of the game and improved the combat. It was such a breath of fresh air. And I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of those, but it is a joy to play through the title. It is a joy to fight in combat. It is a joy to explore the world. And because of the fact that all of the barriers are colored, you can easily see them on the map. While sometimes the joy in a Metroidvania is poking at every last pixel, hitting every last wall, trying to find every little secret, sometimes you just want to be able to unlock all of the areas or see if you found everything there is to find in a certain part of the map. So to open up the map, look around and try to find, red, green, blue, yellow, purple, orange barriers and go, oh, well, I need to go there and open that up. And even if that just completes a loop, you feel better having filled out the map. There is a great deal of satisfaction in filling out a map in a Metroidvania title. But if you're a fan of those games, I'm sure you already know that. It's great that the more challenging aspects are not necessary to complete the title. You can play your way through the entire game, beat the story, get the regular ending, and still feel as though you were adequately challenged. But it gives you opportunity throughout the game to take on extra brutal, quick, if you finish them quickly, challenges, which gets you more life, gets you more stamina, gets you more of all those things so you can 100%. And something great that they added in the sequel is skill trees. Or not so much skill trees, but trainers. You meet 4 different trainers that teach you or allow you to unlock more abilities to your character. So rather than having to run around and find the secret, you can talk to this one person. It unlocks the skill tree. You can get to the skill tree at any time during the game. And when you have enough gold, you can buy an upgrade to your suplex. You can unlock the ability to stun enemies faster when you do a certain move. There's an entire trainer whose skill unlocks are built around a shape-shifting form, where in both Guacamelee games, you gain the ability to turn into a chicken. This is the morph ball of Guacamelee, Pollo. And it was a lot of fun doing Pollo in the first game, but in the second game, they give Pollo certain special moves. There's an entire side quest dedicated to traversing temples entirely in Pollo form. And there was a lot of satisfying anticipation as well as subverting expectations in how all of that plays out. It's a lot of fun. And I definitely did a lot more fights and challenges in Puyo form in the second game because I knew that I could. It wasn't overpowered one way or the other, and there was just something a lot of fun about running around, decimating a room, and then laying eggs on their bodies. But also, I do want to say that Guacamelee 2 is just an excellent sequel all around. It builds on the original, it cleans up several factors of frustration that I've already alluded to beforehand, and it's great fun to play. You don't need to have played the first game to enjoy the second one. It's a little bit of... The story is a touch of a meta sequel, because at the end of the first game, Juan has donned the magic mask, has beaten the bad guy, saved the girl, and then settles down into a comfortable family life. And the second game escalates the stakes. It escalates the mechanics. It is also a little bit of a meditation on sequels and quests and why it's okay to move on. It doesn't beat you over the head about it or ask you to think about these sorts of things, but as I played through the game, I felt that the villain of this title was very much about the idea of power for the sake of power. It's a sobering thought when you consider that while you're playing a Metroidvania where the entire point is to gain power. But to what end? To what purpose? I'll let you make those sort of decisions when you play through the title, because I hope you will. It's a great single-player experience. It's a fantastic couch co-op experience where they only added a few extra facets to some of the mechanics, where one of the big things in both titles is a light world, dark world mechanic, world of the living, world of the dead. Some things move or don't move, open or don't open, are deadly or are benign. And if you constantly change between the living world and the dead world with multiple people, you reach New Super Mario Bros. Level of multiplayer frustration. But they make one of the world shift buttons into one where it shifts for only you. So that way you can navigate some of the more tricky main game puzzles, main quest puzzles, without actually worrying about getting your co-op partner killed. It was a very nice way to do that. And because I played through the title almost entirely in couch co-op mode, I didn't know how it would play out single player, and I realized when I just gave it a try after we beat the game, and it was just one of the two buttons that they used to swap between the living world and the dead world. They made one of them permanently when you play multiplayer into it shifts for just you, which is handy when you are fighting rooms of enemies where some are in one world and some are in the other. You can divide and conquer. It makes it fantastic, like I said, during some of the trickier platforming sections when you're both trying to make your way through this room and you're at different points. And sometimes there are areas that, they are revealed or are covered up based on which world you're in. So you can deal with it on your terms. And that is, I feel, one of the great design strengths of Guacamelee 2. It's a game that lets you handle challenges on your terms. It never pulls its punches, no pun intended, but it hides all of its really big challenging stuff behind, well, get this ability or beat this thing. And then if you still want a challenge, here's the crazy stuff. The 1-2 punch collection of Guacamelee contains all of the DLC that came with it, and Guacamelee 2 has an entire Hall of Champions style area. So you can go and there are rooms built around all 4 trainers that you worked with, and so their challenges are built around different moves, different mechanics. They are time-based. You get gold and silver medals based on how you do. So if you love the mechanics and you want to keep challenging yourself, they've got that for you too. And everything from the character designs, the dialogue, the achievements unlocked have a rich tapestry of humor, of joy, of love for games, for the people that make them and the people that play them. And also a good deal of loving exacerbation about people who just love to criticize things because it's not exactly what they want. But Guacamelee 2 was a fantastic title to play. It is one that I have recommended to several it's one I've recommended to family and friends alike, and I hope they take the time to check it out, and I hope you do too, especially if you are a fan of Metroidvanias, if you're a fan of beat-em-up style games, if you're a fan of 2D platformer hell kind of games. There's a little bit of all of that in here, and frankly, I just think it's something that everyone should check out for themselves. So, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Side Quests. I'm Geoff Moonen. I can be found on Certain POV on the Fun and Games podcast. I can be found on Twitter at Geoff Makes Noise. And thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for joining us. Please let us know what you think of this series. This is only episode 2, and Matt and I are very excited about this project and where it goes, and some of the submissions we've already received. And we look forward to sharing them with you, and we look forward to you sharing some of your favorite games with us. And as always, happy gaming.